Activate.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to This Pink Cloud. We are a show on recovery and multiple pathways to recovery and mental health and all that good stuff.
I like it.
Speaking of mental health, I am DJ KellyReverb.
Hey,
There we
Kelly.
go. There we go. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Yeah, be sure and subscribe to the show and smash that like button if you get a chance there, man. Right, Chad?
Smash that like button if you want to see us donate a sandwich to somebody who's not homeless.
What? Anyway.
I'll take a sandwich.
Me too, dude.
I'll take a sandwich.
We'll smash that motherfucking like button then.
There we go,
I'm in
man.
recovery, man. We like sandwiches.
Hey, but sitting in with me, always a pleasure to have this young lad with me.
Who, me? Who, me?
He got such beautiful eyes, Chad. Everybody, welcome Chad Lamont.
Thanks. Hey, I'm just happy to be here.
Hey, brother. Hey, man.
I'm happy
brother.
to be here.
We're happy you're here.
Hey, man, I'm happy to be here.
Hey, man.
I'm
We're
happy to be here.
We're happy to have you,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, man, I'm happy to be here.
All right, always excited, always a pleasure to have this guy in. The guy with the strongest beard game.
Yes.
Definitely the strongest beard game in town that I know of. Ladies and gentlemen, LPC, LCDC, the Zen Master,
Let's go.
Dusty Burrows.
Right.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for that.
How are you, dude?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah? How's
Yeah.
why don't you tell us where are you working at these days?
I work with Sessions Wellness Group out in Flower Mound. Just recently voted best mental health clinic in the DFW area by the voters.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, and what? How can they get a hold of that? Your services.
You just go to sessionswellnessgroup.com and there'll be a place where you can inquire and get in touch with me for a consult, and I can tell you what we have to offer. And we have a whole group of therapists there. If you don't like people with beards or men or guys over 40, we have a whole team of people.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And if Chad wants to find out what's wrong with him, he can come to you, right?
I might take a team approach, but fortunately for both of you,
I like it.
It just, hey man, I'm down with the team approach. Just how you gonna bill my insurance for it? Just make it look like one. You know what I mean?
Bill Kelly's insurance because y'all can come in as a couple.
Hell yeah.
I like it, dude.
Hey, I was wanting to tell you this earlier. You know how they pronounce vanilla Viking in French? You know how they say it in French? You don't know? Vanilla Viking. That's how they do it. Yeah, I studied that last night.
Well, thanks.
Good job, Chad.
Feeling rich.
Good job.
Yeah, dude, you learned something. Like enrich like uranium. Safe.
All right. Well, I am excited to have this man, young. Well, actually,
Old.
you are a fan of the show.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you actually reached out to me direct, and then I know you couldn't come on last time we shot, but then it so worked out that you are able to be here, and I am excited to have him.
Cool.
It is Mr. Tim Von Hatten.
Yes, sir. Say that in French for me. I can't.
Yes,
Tim Von-
le
Tim-
name is le Tim Bonatin.
There we go. There we go. And you are actually with Stonegate Church Crossroads.
Yes,
is a recovery program.
Yes, it is.
That y'all have through the church.
Yep.
But you have, we talked prior to this, and were telling me about your story.
Sure.
And I know that there was a long term of relapse.
Yes.
In there, but also coupled with a long stretch of recovery.
Absolutely.
Prior to that.
Yes. Yeah,
So let's get into that story.
Sure,
and,
man.
Share what you want.
I think my story is real similar to most addicts that make it into recovery. We're not, we didn't just get caught smoking on the weekend and our parents sent us to treatment. It was a long-term, decades worth of addiction, starting really young. Had some trauma and some different issues, family issues.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of that is always PTSD, and I'm sure
doubt.
Dusty would confer on that.
Yeah, a lot of trauma, a lot of post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
A lot of toxic environments.
Yes. Yeah. And so, like most addicts, we can look back on our childhood and say, man, I really had a great childhood. But the more I start to tease that out and flush that out to like the quote unquote normal people, they're like, dude, like, I kind of clutch their purse a little bit. And, you know, I'm not like doing a lot of babysitting at the church, let's just say, right? But yeah. And so, you know, like I said, I mean, I can look back and see, man, I was happy as a child, you know, I was always able to kind of pick the good out and always smiling, always laughing, always making jokes, had good friends, participated in sports. It kind of reminds me of that meme you see on Instagram where it's like, dude, you're funny. And they're like, yeah, thanks. It's all the trauma.
Right.
So like it became a very like a mechanism for me to deflect or for me to try and fit in. And so I've always been that kid that has had different groups from different walks of life.
Sure.
And so, but yeah, pretty much my using started really early at 12. And so I had some, like my dad was a drug user, siblings were drug users, was just around it a lot.
Right. So you come from a long line of substance use disorder.
On both sides.
Okay.
And so, you know, I was kind of hanging around the house with some friends and some of their older brothers and his friends were around. And so, you know, they kind of threw me some cocaine and thought it would be fun.
At 12?
Yes, yeah. And,
right.
And, you know, and I think...
What did you say?
I said you caught it.
Yeah,
right.
I definitely caught it.
My nose.
I definitely caught it. And there was this moment where it was like, you know, here's a little bit to take home for you. And so that all, when I look back at that and I look back at my drug use over the 26 years, whatever it was, that was always me, always taking a little bit for home, and it's always became very isolated.
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
And so, you know, I think I was one of those kids that knew when I got the opportunity to do drugs, I was most likely going to say yes. Not that I was really searching it out because you don't really know, but like I'll just say I wasn't afraid of it at all. Like I remember. Like Nancy Reagan having the say no thing, and I remember like
Tim was just say yes.
Yeah. And so I just we would have projects where we'd make poster boards and it was like, you know, when I think when you're a kid and you know that your siblings and family are doing drugs, you really don't look at the propaganda films the same. You know, you kind of like, I don't know.
Right.
It's not like that.
That's not my brain on drugs.
Yeah. It's not my experience.
Right.
Yeah. And so it just kind of became a way of life. You know, as a kid, it was easier to get drugs than it was to get alcohol, of course. So, I just unfortunately got exposed to hard drugs really early. Yeah. And so that kind of just became a way of life.
Part of your landscape.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, you move schools, you change jobs, but there you go. And
there so you are.
Like I always, I always found it. They always found me.
Right.
So wherever I go, there I am.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And so, man, so, you know, I did a lot of LSD kind of in junior high and high school and like not just after school, but at school.
Right.
I was kind of
How'd that work out?
Man, art class was really good. Art class was fun. You know, I was a good artist.
Sure.
Yeah. But, you know, I think because my sister was kind of the wild child, I don't think, and she was older, I don't think I kind of flew like under the radar kind of speak, you know what I'm saying? And so I was always in my room, and I remember even till this day, like my mom saying, "Oh, Tim was a great kid. He always just was in his room, and
in his room tripping balls."
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, I mean, we changed schools a lot, made new friends.
Now, was the changing schools due to?
It was mainly due to my sister, more than anything.
Oh, okay.
And so my mom would change schools to kind of help my sister out. And so I make friends really, really easy.
Sure.
And so, but also I think as an adult, I can see that's maybe why I tend to keep a lot of my relationships very, very surface level. Things get hard, I move on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's a total survival mechanism.
There's no doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt.
Adverse childhood experiences. You got to move around a lot, make those good friends.
Yep.
And it doesn't seem adverse when you're in the middle of it. That's just the norm.
Yeah, it really doesn't. I'm like, man, Tim makes like friends really easy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's kind of the thing that like I had to, but as an adult, like let's just put this in a church context. I float around. I have tons of friends at church, and I have this group that knows this about me, and this group knows this about me, and other groups know this, and so I just have this like middle part where no one knows who Tim is, right? And so to me, I think I'm vulnerable and sharing honestly, but I'm not around someone long enough to really share some of the deep things that have harmed me, and that have caused me to also cause a lot of harm. So,
we were talking to somebody a couple weeks ago, and she was saying how like she's got that 90-day window, the 90-day window where you can pretty much present well up until that point, and then it's like. So I've got a lot of good friends now. I think due to my relapse, because when they met me, I was in recovery. And let's go back and how did you? Okay, so first off, you're doing LSD on a regular basis. Probably cocaine as well.
Yes. A little bit.
Okay, remove, but it was more the LSD. That was the go-to.
Sure.
And then so how long did you navigate that period?
Man, I would say like junior high and high school. I think after graduation, it was more like if any drug that anyone had, I was a yes man. So it was like, man, I'll try this, I'll try this, and
a little polysubstance use disorder.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And
it was kind of like, it sounds like whatever was there, you were.
Man,
I'm down.
Yes. Let's take the pain away, and it was always hard drugs that I gravitated towards. It was the escape part. I think that I really enjoyed.
And somebody brought that up the other day when I was at a meeting, and I'd never thought of it that way. But she said. When I was, because you cross a certain line when it comes to using or whatever, because you might do it for fun the first couple times.
Sure.
But she was like, once you cross that line, it is what am I escaping, what am I avoiding, or what am I prolonging?
Yes.
You know, and I was like, holy shit, I've never heard it worded like that.
Right.
That's good.
That's really good because like, with my addiction, I was prolonging quitting because you're going to get dope sick. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm avoiding like the issue that's going on that I'm causing at the household. And then I never thought I was using to escape, but I'm escaping the prolonging and the avoiding of everything, and it was just it was brilliantly put. So
that's really good. I think that's one of the benefits of going to meetings and like actively listening to people share and picking out the things that are similar and not focusing on all the differences, because there's a lot.
Well, so and then you're using LSD through high school, and then at what point did you decide to get clean?
The
first time.
The first time. It went from LSD. I was a heroin addict for a long time. I quit doing heroin the old-fashioned way on the bathroom floor, and then went to pills, and then I smoked crack for like 6 years, and then I have a buddy that's like he used to spin records and stuff, and he moved back home and was like, dude, why are you smoking crack in the hood, dude? Like, let's do meth. I'm like, dude, that's a brilliant idea.
That's a great idea.
And so we started doing meth, and dude, meth was the one, like being an IV drug user, I wasn't like scared of that part of using. I think it made it more even taboo, which I liked, and so once I started shooting meth, man, dude, my life was just way down the tubes, you know? And so I would also hang out with guys that just drank, and I remember I went out with some guys from work, and I'd been up for days, and I worked in landscaping, so like dehydrated, go to the bar, and the next thing I know is I'm on the bathroom floor, and my mom is trying to like get in the door, and I'm passed out like up against the door, right? And she's freaking out a little bit. I go to bed, I wake up, and like all my uncles are like in my living room. I'm like, hey man, like, what are y'all guys doing here? And so they're in recovery too. Gave me an NA book, talked to me about meetings, and that's kind of started it. But the NA book was like about me, written by my future me. And it was like, no, I'm not ready to go there yet, And so I just continued to use, mainly alone. And then my sister moved into my mom's house because her and her husband were splitting up, and by that time I was a known addict, and her ex-husband kind of forced me out of the house, and so I was on the streets for a little bit, and then I went and lived in a homeless shelter, and that right there was what got me into recovery.
Right. Yeah. Now, you went to the homeless shelter because what? Your parents didn't want you in the house anymore?
Yeah. So, well, it wasn't so much them. It was also the state of Texas. So it kind of went down like that.
Okay.
So I go to the homeless shelter, and I'm going to meetings, and man, I just, a lot of half truth. I mean, I was ready for the pain to stop, but I still wasn't really ready to confront a lot of the violence that had taken place.
Right.
The sexual abuse that happened to me when I was 9, that kind of got the craziness kind of rolling. I just really wasn't ready to talk about that stuff.
Right.
And
sure.
So, yeah.
And I mean, that's not, probably uncommon, that people don't want to dive that deep on themselves. They're going to take, a lot of people have like that, and they're like, I'm going to take that to the grave.
Yeah. There's a lot of discomfort, especially with males, there's a lot of stigma, a lot of shame involved. It was my fault, or it's going to mess with my head about my sexuality.
Yes.
So it takes a lot of courage to really kind of, I'm going to work on this, and I think that's what holds a lot of guys back, not necessarily from getting sober, but really achieving recovery.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because I stayed clean for, like 7 years, and I was in 12-step meetings. I was speaking at groups, speaking at conventions, just doing it.
You were like with my friend referred to it as Captain AA. Or Captain Recovery.
Yes, very much. But just running my mouth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because I was built for that. I mean, because my addiction, I learned how to survive. So I just went from the dope game to the recovery game, and I'm making all these new friends. I'm like, man, if they really know who I am,
right?
Like they're gonna leave me like everyone else, right? Like I have these false beliefs, and so it really, really kept me from, just like you said, dude, from finding recovery, from finding healing. And I got clean. Started going to church. Met my wife. Beautiful woman. I got a beautiful kid. I got a business, all the things that like a white boy should have, a nice truck, nice mortgage, and like I'm doing it, but life gets hard. And because I haven't done a lot of the work and research on why I'm doing what I do, I went right back to it.
Right. You don't believe you deserve the good things.
Man, dude, that is very insightful, because I still struggle with that. Right. So, I see a therapist now.
Well, hey, dude.
Yeah. EMDR is my friend today.
Oh, heck
so, it's kind of
it's magical.
Dude, it's a
Why don't you explain to what EMDR
EMDR is? I'm not an EMDR practitioner, but I've been a client, and I'm also, very much advocate for it. But basically, they use a system of lights and things that help you process trauma a lot faster. It goes through the optic nerve, through the eye, and triggers the limbic system, so you're able to get to that trauma and process it so much faster.
Well, now it stands for eye movement what?
Desensitization. Reprocessing.
Thank you.
Well, there we go. I like it. We all,
because you put me on the spot, I'm going to forget.
Well, I actually looked it up on my way here because he asked me what it stood for on the phone. I'm like, dude, I really have no idea.
I'm glad you remembered it a clutch, because I totally forgot. There's another one called ETT therapy, which is emotional transformation therapy.
Oh, wow.
Which is very similar as well, and also uses a system of colors that go through the optic nerve to the limbic system as well.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Really powerful.
There's a new
really
one
cool.
I heard about the other day where they stimulate different parts of your brain, and then after they like do some scans and stuff, then like you start walking through trauma or whatever it is. And then what they do is they stimulate, it's like some sort of sound wave or magnetic waves or whatever.
Are you talking about TMS?
Yes.
Yeah,
to where they stimulate the exact opposite side to counteract it at the same time. Dude, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's a really evidence-based treatment like EMDR and ETT, and that's transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Yeah.
Oh, good
job.
That's a big word.
Yeah,
man. Look at us, man.
Transcranial. I like it.
We're smarter now.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's given me an opportunity to share those things that I was going to take to the grave. But it's also allowed me to, I'm really, really thankful for, God in this process, giving me memories, right? Because when I'm using and I have those memories, for starters, I don't really know what they are, if they're real. When you're a meth addict who's staying up for weeks at a time, there's a lot of psychosis.
Oh, yeah.
There's just a lot there, and I tend to think, man, like the enemy's after me, or all these things that we think. But I'm learning now that it was very much the Lord like giving me these memories in order for me to process and heal, right? But for someone like me who doesn't trust a lot of people, I think there's something that I struggled with at the start was, so what happened to me twice, and in my head I was thinking it only happened once, and as I'm going through these memories, I'm realizing, dude, this happened to me twice, and that opened up a whole nother thing where it became my fault. Why would I have gone back? Not to mention just the whole fight or flight craziness that happens when you're 9 years old and you're tied up essentially, and you can't get out. You can't fight, flight, so you freeze. And I think that was a real. I'm thankful for the process to give me these terms so I can kind of put a label on it rather than that I'm just weak or,
and it's not that it's your fault and
absolutely.
And the victim mentality.
And oftentimes we're still processing through the shame and the blame like a 9-year-old's brain, and it's like even though now we have the gift of intelligence and processing things as an adult, we're still blaming ourselves with that wounded child's mind.
And the thing with blame, dude, is like everybody just wants something to blame, and there's no work done when you're just blaming something. There becomes work done when you're like actively working to get over the blame and the shift and all of that stuff. And that's when like you take power back over the story that controlled you for so long. And you see that shit in recovery all the time. Like, people walk around being like, oh, I'm grateful that I'm a grateful alcoholic, I'm a grateful drug addict, all that stuff. And it is because like you once you start having that shift and you start doing that inner work, you start to see like, God or the universe, you start to see those fingerprints all over everything that you went through. Because then you say it to somebody and then you see that light bulb go on. You're like, holy shit, my entire purpose could be to have had that one conversation.
Isn't that crazy?
It's absolutely insane. There's nothing like it. No drug I've ever done will ever feel that same way.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Dude, I wholeheartedly agree. And I think like as a Christian, because I didn't go to church at all. Like we were raised like very very new age, positive thinking and all this sort of thing, which I still believe in, but it's a different context today. But as I began to learn about my faith and God's sovereignty, it used to infuriate me because I'd feel like, dude, if God's this creature up in the sky that controls everything, why would He let this happen? And then it just, like I said, when you're blaming, even when you're blaming God, I mean, it still does not give you an opportunity to kind of see my part. Now that part is difficult to see. Please hear me out if this is part of your story, because things happen to you that are completely jacked up. But my part in it isn't the part of being abused. My part in it is that I took it out on everyone I've met for 38 more years of my life.
I love the way you put that, because that's a difficult thing for people to swallow sometimes when you say, what is your part in your abuse? Well, obviously not the part when you were victimized, but have you ever used your abuse as an excuse to hurt yourself or hurt other people? And that's the way I try to get people to see it, because oftentimes we use that as a manipulation to manipulate ourselves and others.
Oh, absolutely. And that victim mentality is dangerous, dude. Very dangerous. I got in that car wreck, and I had to really look at it outside of my head when I got sober, because like I was just sick of using everything as a cop out, right? Like, oh, I got one leg, I can't do this, I can't do that, and I make jokes about it now. I got one leg, I'm not fucking running a race or anything, but I had to look at it and be like, dude, like, I got hit by a car, but you know what? Had I put fucking gas in my car, dude, guess what? I wouldn't have run out of gas, and I probably wouldn't have ruined her life as well. And it's that same mental gymnastics that we do as an addict, dude, that I get to use, and I get to turn that defect into an asset to make that fucking water look real good for that horse to drink now. Dude. Yes. You know what I mean? And I was that horse. I had to trick myself into doing that. And dude, it just started opening up fucking doors left and right that I had been in front of the whole time that were open, but my fucking lens, dude, was just cloudy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And then I think for me, like I never shared it. And then whenever I relapse, I'm getting out of treatment, and my abuse becomes my excuse. So like, dude, what happened? I'm like, oh man, I started having these memories about me being abused, and then I'm sharing it, but I'm not sharing it to heal or promote anything other than 100%. Excuse.
It's your excuse for using.
And dude, at 45 44, 45, that didn't really play too well. You know, I mean, as messed up as it is, and how much, my friends do love me, they were really able to kind of hold me accountable.
Well, I kind of want to dive into this part. Like, okay, so you had like 7 years, right, of recovery, and then you go back out, but you don't go back out just for like a month. No. You go out for how long?
Oh man, so for about 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, I get married.
Do you just fall back into the same pattern? Like, I mean, just more, like as far as the drug?
Man, I'm telling you, when I went to treatment in 2020, we go to an outside meeting, and there's a Who's an Addict reading, like a reading that I've read countless times.
Right.
And it's like I'd never even heard it before.
Okay.
And so, they say like the disease is progressive, it picks up where it would have left off. That's exactly my experience. And so life's getting hard, I'm running a business. I'd hired some guys that I could just tell like we know each other well,
right?
So I could just tell what was going on and where it was, and man, I just thought, man, it would be a good idea just to get one. If I can get one, and dude,
you'll be good. You can handle one.
No, I just I mean totally hit the ground running, and getting caught, left and right. And then going to treatment and getting out, and things are really, really tough at home because my wife doesn't have any of these experiences that I have, and her family doesn't have any of these, the same.
So it's
history.
Completely foreign to her. Whereas you kind of come from, you already come from that pedigree, so to speak.
Yeah. And so,
goddamn thoroughbred over there,
dude. Absolutely. I can run the race pretty well. So we think. We think that we're actually, man, I can use this and produce. I can just bust out these bids, and I'm getting all this work done, and really just spinning wheels.
Right.
Just digging myself deeper and deeper. So
Right.
What was that like for you, especially guys that are married or in relationships, when, trying to talk to your wife about there's something inherently sick about our relationship, because why would you be engaged in this relationship with me, because there's a reason why somebody's attracted to those of us with addictions, and having them be able to take a look at that, going, no, maybe you're not like, you don't have my experiences, but how did this happen? I think that's a difficult thing for spouses to look at.
And there is no doubt, and I'm grateful for, she's in a program for family members of addicts and alcoholics, and she's able to kind of stay in her lane, and we know that those conversations are coming. We have great conversations and great communication now, but I think those questions, I've got to leave those questions up for her to ask, and not try and step in and convince her, why she likes the so-called bad boy, right?
Right. There we go.
Yeah, I can't go anywhere good.
Yeah.
Hey, well, real quick, let's throw to commercial. Okay. Max the Axe, our good buddy, is a sponsor of the show. If you go to thispinklawyer.com, it will take you to Lone Star Injury Attorneys. And there's Max's new logo. I love that. Max the Axe. Looking good. But anyway, if you go to thispinklawyer.com, it will take you to his website. He practices personal injury law in Texas and California. So be sure and hit him up. He will definitely get back to you. And then Chadwick, we've got some new music out there, and you are going to play it. Let's hear it. Play it.
Sorry, it got stuck.
All right, and there we go. Do perfect timing.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother. As I almost choked there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we were talking about, like how you had gone out for a while and then come back to it. So how does somebody go out there? I mean, because you already knew it was like both sides. You knew sobriety and you knew active use.
Yes.
So I mean, you would think at some point the common sense would kick in, and you wouldn't want to navigate it for that long of an extended period.
Man, I really think it was just the shame of relapse. It was the embarrassment of relapse.
Right.
I mean, it was also like getting clean, like hitting the circuit, right, of all the speaking and stuff that I love. It was also like when I became a Christian around that same time, I became the guy with the awesome testimony, and so the church paraded me around just as much as the programs did, and so it all kind of goes to your head a little bit because there's not a lot of humility, because there's not a lot of honesty,
right?
And so I think, like, in many ways, I thought that testimony was dead, that I blew it. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I blew it.
Yeah.
I had my chance. I don't deserve it again.
I can't be the golden boy of recovery anymore.
Yes.
Right.
And now, man, I mean, as much as I did like seek you out, that's not really my motive here. Like, I think it's more just like getting in recovery circles. Like, I've cast the net out super far this time with all of the A's, with region, with Crossroads Ministry, with EMDR therapy. I've got an old guy that is like a Bible teacher.
What you were telling me is that you one of the main things that you noticed, especially with this time, and what was different was the fact that you were able to truly be honest with yourself, and some people use the 12 steps, and you were talking about doing an honest fourth step, and how that was key in the recovery this time versus last time.
Because that was my kind of method, is like I work the steps, I get to 4, and there's all this this
I'll give you a bullshit fourth step, and then we'll go to
because you hear a lot about it, right? When you start, and so it becomes scary, and then you hear people say, oh, it's the most loving thing you can ever do to yourself, and you're just like, no, I don't really think so, but in all honesty,
especially when you've got that take it to the grave mentality.
Absolutely. I mean, because that's just you don't want to incriminate yourself, right? On like any way. I don't really want to talk about all the dirt I did and the drugs that I had to do to even be able to do the dirt, because I feel like I was still a good kid. I was just a little bit thrown off a little bit and had a chip on my shoulder. Wasn't the biggest, wasn't the toughest, but I could be the craziest. And so that was a long history of just like, when thug guys are telling you that you've gone too far, or the dope man's telling you that you need to quit, there's probably something wrong. And that's very much.
Hey, dude, I think you need to find recovery. I know I'm making money off of you, but
I
think there's also something cool to be said when you go through, you've been speaking, you've been doing all this stuff, and then you go back out. And then you go do it again, right? Because that just shows, because it takes a special person to be able to have the balls to get back out there after doing that, right? Because fear is like something that drives everybody, right? And you're afraid that, they're not going to, they're going to see me as this and that and blah, blah, blah. But when people see you struggle out loud, that says more than anything that, and they see you go through it in fairly real time, right? There's something more healing watching somebody struggle than there is watching somebody be well presented.
Absolutely.
That's a fucking very powerful thing.
And there's something really to have had it and then lost it, and to get it back is so liberating, and the resilience and courage that takes is phenomenal.
I really appreciate that.
Everybody likes a fucking comeback story.
There you
man.
go. Even if you got two, you can have two. You can have two comeback stories.
Well, so then what so you do H&Is?
So I did. Yeah, I did. I was real involved with H&I and, taking meetings at treatment centers.
I was gonna say this, like, do you, and you might be able to speak to this as well, Chad, like, I mean, do you think that you can, like, almost get addicted to recovery?
There's no doubt.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
Yeah. And
service work. Yeah.
Did you find yourself like just I'm going to do that so I can avoid what's in here?
There's no doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt. I was single then. I had something going on almost every night. I was, like I said, coupled the recovery with all the stuff that was going on in church, as far as like men's retreats and men's groups and all the stuff that I was doing. It was just like, I had a real busy schedule, and I was really just trying to blend in, right? And then when I really got involved in church, I started to kind of think that, maybe the secular recovery really wasn't it. And that's kind of why I had left the 12-step groups and started doing the church thing for a while. But then I just found myself surrounded by dudes that never smoked a cigarette, like didn't cuss, and people that I couldn't tell that I was really thinking about using. I mean, I think I could, but in my head I couldn't.
Right. They weren't your level. So you were like, I don't want to.
Yes.
I don't want to freak these guys out.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm married with a kid and one on the way, and now I've got 3 beautiful kids, and I mean it's been a great story. I mean, I think I wouldn't be here without that experience of having gone back out and then having to kind of be forced to really get honest. There was a lot of sexual abuse that was in my family, and so even my family dynamic was just fractured and leave, and there wasn't like a lot of strong bonds, and I didn't want that to happen with my family. So I knew that it was definitely time for me to get honest and get some real help. And thankfully it came like spiritually, but it also came with, again, working the 12 steps. I'm still working 12 steps. Right. I'm in a Christian program.
We talk about, multiple tools and it just being another tool in the toolbox.
Yes.
And, it's not just one thing that works for you.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's what I really liked about this podcast, is jumping into it and listening to all the different stories, all the different methods of recovery, and then you have like guys like this over here that are therapists that are up on these like scientific techniques where it's not just old school,
right?
Bill Wilson,
Bill W, and that's it.
Sitting bedside.
Well, I think people often put all their eggs in one basket. And if something goes wrong, maybe your recovery community or failed relationships, or maybe you struggle with the relapse, and then that's your only go-to. Yeah. Right. Then you've set yourself up for failure. And the studies show, to nerd out a little bit, the more pathways to recovery that you're involved in, the higher your chances of long-term success in recovery. So it just kind of makes sense, right? If I'm trying to get healthy, but I'm only running, but I'm eating chips and chocolate cake every day, I'm not going to get physically healthy.
Dude, why you gotta say it like that?
I got a good diet. I'm sleeping. I'm eating all the water. Yeah, fuck you guys.
Right.
Eat more apples.
A lot of the times, no, I'm not eating any apples. Kelly ruined that for me. So a lot of the things I say to people, because I don't know what the statistics are, but most of the people that I encounter in daily life when I'm working with others or whatever, there is multiple things going on. It is not just strictly substance use or alcoholism, and they exacerbate one another. I don't give a shit which came first. I'm not diagnosing anybody or anything. You can't zoom in like that, Kelly. You can try. You don't even know how to do it. That's why you have to wait for me. That's why you guys were early and I wasn't late today. That's exactly how that works. But
did you say something?
Hey man, what's your name?
Hey dude, good to see you, brother.
But so like, I say it like this because like, if you had, you get all these problems that go on. Like, look at Hurricane Katrina, dude. Had the levees been strengthened, who knows what would have happened, right? Wouldn't have been as bad. You build a hurricane wall, and you want to build that motherfucker as high as possible. That's your fucking recovery wall, dude. Like, if I know that I have 2 things going, if I have 2 baskets, right, and I need both of those baskets treated, right, I'm not just going to put all my eggs in one of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That will fail me eventually. Yeah, it might be a great 2, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, whatever it might be for you, as long as you can bide that time without doing that inner work.
It's the demon you turn your back on is the one that's going to get you.
Exactly. And Batman wouldn't have been shit without the fucking without the batarangs and the grappling hook. You know what I'm saying? If he was just fucking, if he just had the grappling hook, you'd be like, what the fuck is this dude flying around in a costume for? That guy's an idiot. But since he was fighting crime,
Batman was like funded heavily by his parents. So let's be honest.
I'm just saying, dude. This is a fucking example, dude. Just wake up, dude.
Wake up, baby.
But it's like this is the recovery tool belt, man. You cannot have. Like, you can't have too many fucking fence posts in a fence. You know what I mean? You can't have too many things that are positive that you can pick from at any point in time. When one of them feels like it's not working.
You can't have too many rocks in a gravel pit.
Your steer's going to get out.
What I'm going to say, dude.
Is what's going to happen. Your fence breaks down, your steer's going to get out.
You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to keep them goddamn steers in there, brother. My steer's been running loose for goddamn my entire life, brother. I just now built me a goddamn fence, and I keep putting posts up every goddamn day so them things don't get out of there. You know what I mean? But that's what it's like, right? You need as many fucking possible avenues of things that you remember to do in real time to prevent you from fucking going back out, dude. Like, it's that simple.
And Tim, I think what you're talking about too is like you're involved in all this service stuff, and we had talked about this with some other guests not too long ago, is the service work becomes a pattern of avoidance, and what's the thing you're avoiding? Doing the freaking work on yourself.
Right? There's no doubt. That was, you've been in the game a while. What do they say? The kids say game recognized game.
Yeah. Well, when you call it the recovery game, that is something. It's not to judge anybody or ourselves, but sometimes we're fucking playing games.
Man.
And it's not something to toy with.
It's the path of least resistance.
I wanted to get to this question before we wrap it up. The Stonegate Church Crossroads. So, kind of what you're here. You're repping your set right now.
Let's
so
blow it up.
What the fuck? What is
kind of what you're here for right now? You're repping your set,
right, bro? But so what exactly do y'all offer? Like,
so Crossroads, Crossroads is kind of built on top of a book called A Banquet in the Grave, Finding Hope for Addiction in the Gospel. It's a book that's written by Ed Welch. CCEF is the network, and so man, it's an awesome book. And to be honest with you, this was the book that kind of took me out of quote unquote secular recovery back then. Because,
well, what would you notice like in that book? Like, I mean, if somebody's curious about that, what would you tell? Like, I mean, for me, I have no idea what this book is.
I would say, I mean, it's definitely built on hope in the gospel, but it doesn't discount the work that goes on in all of the A's and all the multiple path of recovery. That's why I love it. Because we're not a group that's going to say, okay, you come here Wednesday night and you better not do anything on Thursday night or Saturday night. You better be back here Wednesday clean. Like, that's not practical. Because my story is Monday, I want to get clean. Tuesday, I've got a needle in my arm.
Right.
You know, and so that's just the reality of my addiction, the way it surfaced. So we bring in guys that started off just guys that go to our church that are in recovery or looking for recovery. They're going to come in and they're going to talk to me and my sidekick. It used to be a good cop, bad cop. And
I almost thought you said you and your psychic.
No.
I was like, that's sweet.
So we're just some Christians that are in recovery.
Okay.
There's a workbook that accompanies the book. It's called Crossroads.
Okay.
So it's similar to 12 steps, but I think there's only 10. So it's not like Celebrate Recovery where it's like a Christianized version of the 12 steps. It's kind of its own animal. I mean, I'm going to tell you it's real gospel centered, but like I said, we're encouraging our members, because I make meetings and work steps. We're encouraging our members to go to other meetings in the meantime.
Other avenues as well.
Absolutely.
I gotcha.
So it's its own curriculum. Is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And can you explain for the listeners, because I didn't know this early on in recovery, what is secular versus non-secular recovery?
Man, that's just a word that us Christians use to probably feel better about our solution, right?
So meaning?
Secular would be your A's, I guess, you know.
Right. But like non-Christian.
Sure. Yeah.
Worldly.
Yeah, I was going to say worldly,
Of
but I
the
don't want to use.
world.
Yeah, but urban. But you know, we don't hold on to that too tight. We're really open-handed, and that's why I like the book so much, because it kind of backs that up. And so when you have other Christians using that as a tool, or using that language where they don't discount the other pathways, that's important.
Well,
because some of them don't.
So speaking of pathways, what would you say, like real quick, some of your top, from your experience, which is pretty vast.
Yes.
What would you say some of the most successful tools that you've personally used?
Regen, which is another Christian program that was it's in Watermark is the originator of it.
Okay.
It is kind of it's 12-step, very gospel packed, but you work steps in a group.
Okay.
And so for me, I had to not only go through this stuff alone, like I'm sharing things in a group of other men, and that was really, really good for me, because like I'm sharing things, like I said, that I think I'm going to get chastised or ran out of the room, and dudes are looking at me like, man, I'm so sorry that happened to you, or thank you for sharing, like I really honor that you would share that with us. So that was a big one. So that was the first time I ever worked through all 12 steps, was working that program. And then it's kind of like the program that I went to was like a 9-month deal. So when the 9 months was over, it was kind of like, dude, I better jump into something fast. Well, I'd already been going to meetings, in like my days off or whatever. And so it just was a natural progression to go back, to the days. And
so regions, and then what else?
Man, the Bible. Like I said, having a Bible teacher, because I think for me, as a Christian, especially someone who's come to Christ late, we don't realize that the Bible even addresses addiction. And so, my kind of roadmap has gone from Googling 20 verses on addiction to now where I just see recovery and the redemption history throughout the Bible, and it just leaps off the page. And so,
Tim, can you speak to this? I've been really impressed with a lot of like non-denominational Christian churches who are using psychology and clinical elements in their teachings to help people heal through addiction, whatever the addiction is.
Sure.
And as a guy who's been to therapy, who's utilizing that, what are some of those things that you've noticed that have been integrated in those curriculums?
EMDR for one. I think that's a real big one. I have a Christian therapist, and leads me through EMDR, and still, I think as a Christian, you don't want to hear other Christians say, I think you're wrong there. Let's tease that out, or that's a false belief. So other Christians that are willing to kind of give me hard truths, or give me the safe space to tease it out and be wrong. And maybe I'm not wrong. Maybe I'm still right, but I get to be open to maybe hearing that perspective. But EMDR was a big one. I think just counseling in general. There's, I guess they call it nouthetic counseling, where it's just, here's your Bible, boy. You read the Bible, and then you just get more Bible, and then you wake up, you read the Bible again. Like I have guys in my life that are like that, but I also have guys that are counselors, that are like professional counselors, and that have these techniques and use books like The Body Keeps Score, all these type of books that bring up polyvagal theory and all of these things that I'm learning about the scientific process of why, when my 4-year-old is a 4-year-old, I react like my house is on fire, because it comes from the trauma. And and I would have never connected those dots. And so it gives me, it helps me in my parenting. It helps me be more aware of what I'm feeling. That little, the feeling wheel. Have you ever seen the little feeling wheel? Well,
God, I hated that thing when I was in treatment, dude.
Yes, yeah. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
I would just go out of my way to make the most irrational ones with any of my counselors.
Yeah. And it's like, I see these words, and when I came into recovery, a lot of the old timers would say, well, get a dictionary, because you think that this word means this, and it really doesn't. So I had to get the dictionary out to learn these emotions, because, dude, I'm just used to feeling anger or elation. Or pride. That was my big one. And every time I'm in a counseling therapy and I start talking about pride, my therapist is like, is it really pride? Like, come on, we've been doing this for months now. Let's pull out the wheel. Let's look at it. Or like the first counselor I had, because we think we're really, really complex. We think it's really complicated. But when your therapist is flipping through her notebook and just has a little printout for
everything
you,
is so
right.
textbook.
Yeah, we're like, okay.
Everything is so textbook.
this
It's
is
fucking great.
yes,
We have it, okay, it's all small T's, and all these small T's, or it's a rock in your backpack. Think of it as a pebble in
but
your
I'm
backpack.
so different.
Yeah.
Right.
I love
my
how you
gosh.
speak to being a father in recovery and trying to raise kids, because it's like sometimes these things that we never learned as a child, and now we get to teach our 4, 5, and 6-year-old real basic things. What are you feeling today? Using feelings words that have eluded us for 30 years.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
how to process the shit before it gets too tough.
Yeah, because it's real pretty freaking remedial, but the fact we never learned it is difficult. But
Well, we weren't also probably asked it either. You know?
Of course not. Neither were our parents. It's not their fault.
It's like,
it's
just the way
Poor
it
mom
was.
and dad didn't have coping skills.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah. Like if I can't regulate myself, how can I expect my 4-year-old to regulate?
Right.
Or when you start asking your kid, like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? And they're like, they don't know why they did what they did. I'm 47 and still don't know why I do what I do. But I'm expecting them to, like, you know what I'm saying, to be like, oh yeah, daddy, because it just doesn't work.
I want you to write a dissertation on this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
So it's been humbling, but I'm really, really grateful that that my kids have me around.
Right. Well, yeah. And I mean, you're coming up on a year, right?
I just got it. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Bro. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Way to go, man. Way to be.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, man. And what way better to celebrate that year than being on the podcast?
Man, I love it. Yeah. I think I had commented like a long answer, and then someone had reached out. I think it had to do with one of the guys I follow on here, the chef.
Oh,
the guy, yeah.
Okay.
And because it reminded me of when I was in the shelter, and all the churches would come and
are you talking about Mike with the
yes,
shelter?
Yes,
Chef to the shelter.
Yeah. And so these people would come, and for some reason, like, lasagna is the classic meal to feed homeless people. So I'd be like, hey, lasagna again.
Yeah.
But like, I saw these people take time out to bring their kids and feed us lasagna every Tuesdays and Thursday night. And so when I saw that, it really reminded me of that time in the shelter when we're lost. Like I didn't come to the shelter because I had this terrific story of like, my house burned down or Katrina or whatever. It was just, dude, it was very, very self-inflicted. And when you're calling family members saying, hey, can I come sleep on your couch? And everyone's saying no. And then you go into a shelter and all these people are like loving on you. It was, it was huge for me. And so, 5 years later, I was on the board of directors at the shelter. And dude, I mean, like I said, it was very much an awesome testimony. And I really, I'm really thankful that the Lord walked me through that and gave me that. But man, it was a lot of just kind of running my mouth and just kind of running game. I mean, it was very much a survival.
Are you able to look back there and give yourself grace that was part of your process?
Man, you're not the first person to tell me that. So again, this must be a textbook case, right? But I'm definitely learning. I'm definitely learning because I don't want to discount the work that my friends put in, the different groups I was affiliated with put in. And so it definitely was part of my process. And really, when I look back now, if I didn't have that 8 years of clean time, I don't know if I could even really believe that I could even do it again.
Right, that it was possible.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
So much of an expectation in recovery is like, that's the one thing in life where people are, well, I got a key tag or I got a desired trip. You got to be perfect now.
Right.
And I don't think really anybody realistically expects you to do that, but there's this expectation that it happens.
Yes.
I don't even know anyone chip wonder, so where that comes from. Maybe that's just another lie we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
I hear you. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah.
And then it sounds like you need to get Dusty's number, right?
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah. Do you take insurance? Cash, what is it? Cash App or Apple Pay?
Cash App.
All the above. We'll tell you.
Yeah, what is the shadiest one? Cash App?
Kind of.
Yeah. I accept tacos.
Yeah, tacos.
Cash App, PayPal.
Right.
Or shout out to Lou. Do you take tamales? Is the way it
tamales. Tamales. Love her.
Slightly used Lone Star cards.
Yeah. There you go. Love it. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience and celebrating your 1 year.
Yeah, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And then Dusty, as always, we will have you out. We need to get this happening in, on the reg?
I'm in, man.
All right, brother.
Life is starting to settle down a little bit.
Yeah, so that's good. So honing that career in, or that career path.
Working for a new organization is, always a challenge, but an exciting challenge.
Yeah.
Starting fresh. So work with a great boss and a great team.
Would you like to give them a shout out?
Sure, yeah. I'm working with LifePath Systems in Collin County now, doing multi-systemic therapy. So I'm learning a new type of therapy, working with families specifically. So it's a community-based treatment where I'm going into homes, sometimes into Starbucks, and I'm working with the different systems, the home system, the educational system, the judicial system, whatever system these kids are involved in, to try to keep them from going to treatment and juvenile or being removed from the home.
Right.
So trying to work with what we got the best way we can.
Cool. Meet them on their
meet them where they're at,
exactly.
and help some of these parents who might be trying really hard, but maybe they didn't have the tools that
Sure.
And so we get to come in as a team. I'm their primary, and then I work with a team of really talented people to try to utilize our best tools and our best skills with these families. See where we get.
Well, that sounds cool, man. Well, thanks again for coming out, and we'll definitely have you back on.
Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Chad.
And Chadwick, as always, pleasure, dude.
Hell yeah, man. Hey, man.
Hey, brother. Hey, man.
Hell yeah.
Hey,
and
man.
I just want to say too, your story is a great example because when you relapse, you can either sit in it and get stuck there, or you can look at it as an opportunity for a building block, and that sounds like what you're doing.
I appreciate it.
Because you learn a lot, and then you don't discount any of the experience you had before, but then you get to go look over it and be like, okay, well, this was going on, this was going on, this was going on. What do I do to correct? What corrective measures can I take to learn about and all that stuff? Because all of this shit... Dude, every fucking thing we go through is just a building block preparing us for the next shit show we go through, and hopefully we handle that a little better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Impermanence.
Yeah. So, but cool. That's fantastic, man.
Well, cool, man. Well,
thank you.
Thanks again for coming on, Chad. Yeah. And then next week we've got somebody exciting, so be sure, subscribe, smash that like button. And
smash that like button if you want to see me break a window with a fake leg.
There you go. Hey, dude, that would be good. We should do that one. We should do that live, a live event. Anyway, but thanks for tuning in. And remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.